For the fourth time in 4 years, New Balance is completely redesigning their premier super shoe. This is the all-new New Balance SC Elite V4. And it's time to take it for a run. Yo, what's going on? My name is Kofuzi and I'm a non-elite runner who reviews shoes here on YouTube. And today, I want to talk to you guys all about the New Balance SC Elite version 4. But first, I do want to go over some disclosures. The pair of shoes that New Balance sent to me for the purpose of review, so I did not have to pay for these shoes. However, no one's paying me to make this video or to include their shoe in this video, and no one's going to get a chance to preview any of my footage or my thoughts before you guys get a chance to see this video on YouTube. So with that disclosure out of the way, let's talk about the New Balance SC Elite version 4. And first, let's go over some specs. The top line spec for me this year is that they've upgraded the foam to an all PIBA midsole. It's a material that we've seen in a lot of other brands racing shoes, and it's good to finally see it make it into the New Balance lineup. There's also a redesigned carbon fiber plate in here. It's still labeled with the Energy Arc badging, but I suspect because of the differences in the foam this year over last, they've been able to tweak the design of that carbon fiber plate. This year they're saying they're able to make it thinner, which should help with weight, but also should still be able to give you the same amount of rigidity that we were able to see in the plate last year. On the outsole, we have a reconfigured outsole design, which I think looks absolutely fantastic and matches the rest of the aesthetic of the shoe really quite nicely, but it also is providing a great amount of grip and traction. The other thing that I think is particularly noteworthy is the way that they've changed the outsole design and overall midsole design entirely for this shoe. Last year, there was a weird aspect of the design where the carbon fiber plate was exposed and basically had to have this little rubber nubbin attached to it so that way it wouldn't get too scratched whenever your foot hit the ground. I didn't like the feel of that. I didn't like the design of that, and I'm glad they finally went away from that design to have something that's a little bit more traditional, but also that has a lot more cushion underneath the carbon fiber plate while still also providing plenty of grip and traction as well. On the upper, we've changed away from the knit upper, which I absolutely loved in last year's version, to New Balance's Phantom Fit. The fit reminds me very much of the fit that we found on the New Balance Rebel version 4. It actually kind of feels a little bit less race-like because it does remind me of the Daily Trainer fit as well. And I do think there's a tiny bit less padding in here, but overall, if you enjoyed the fit of the Rebel 4, I feel like you're going to also enjoy the fit that's going on in the upper of the SC Elite version 4. Now, another thing that happened on the spec sheet that happened to me with the Rebel version 4 this year is that New Balance is reporting weights for size 9.5, which is a little bit different than what the rest of the industry typically does. Usually reference size is size 9, which happens to be my size. New Balance is reporting that for a size 9.5 in US men's, that the weight of the SC Elite version 4 is 7.8 ounces, but on my scale at home, mine is actually a half size smaller, but coming in quite a bit heavier. I measured mine at 8.3 ounces or 234 grams. Now that we've got the specs out of the way, let's talk about what it was actually like to run in the shoe. And I will say that the PIBA upgrade is noticeable and welcome. I really do enjoy the foam that they're using in this shoe and the way that it's interacting with the carbon fiber plate. Overall, I'm getting a really nice sensation of compression of the foam when my foot hits the ground, and also decompression of the foam and a nice snap from the carbon every time my foot pushes off the ground and gets into that next stride. All the kind of sensations that I want to sensate every time I'm running in a super shoe. And I will say that the shoe feels stable is not the right word. There's just like a lack of wildness. There's a lack of chaos in the shoe, but it's definitely getting the job done. It's definitely moving me through my stride really quickly. The foam is performing really well. The plate, I feel like, is doing its job. And it's overall a very fast performing shoe. It just doesn't feel like a fast performing shoe all the time, if that makes sense. It's just kind of quietly doing its job, and it's doing it actually really well, but it does it again so quietly that I have to think to make sure, is it doing its job? And then when I think about it, yes, it turns out, in fact, it is really doing its job very well. I've taken it out for a couple of different sets of paces in the testing runs that I have in this shoe so far. Marathon effort types of running, it does a really nice job of kind of fading into the background and letting me just run in a way that I feel like is light and efficient. And when I pick up the pace moving down to 5K effort or VO2 max style work, this shoe again kind of disappears from my feet, but at the same time is letting me move through those paces with a really great amount of speed and what feels like a great amount of efficiency at the same time. Now, admittedly, it's not the lightest shoe that's on the market, and combined with the fact that the upper is a very generous fit for a race shoe, I feel like a lot of people are going to think that it's not a very aggressive shoe. And for some people, that's going to be really good. Some people, maybe not so much. I kind of like feeling that the shoe is a little bit aggressive when it comes to something I want to race with on race day. But overall, the shoe is achieving what it needs to achieve without it feeling like I'm cramming myself into a race shoe that I have to be excessively careful about running in. Otherwise, my stride is going to go all sorts of crazy late into a marathon race. And so I feel like this is a shoe that a lot of people may find a little bit underwhelming at first, but I also think it's going to grow on a lot of people the more and more miles they run in, which is similar to what's happening with me in the New Balance Rebel version 4. I think there's a lot of similarities in the design and in the approach of these shoes. And I feel like that's carrying forward into the SC Elite version 4 as well. Now let's talk about some options we could pair this shoe with if you're going to use the SC Elite version 4 as your race shoe. What are the other shoes that you're going to use on the rest of your training cycle days to round out your rotation? And I think for the daily trainer, I've already been talking about it already. I think the Rebel version 4 with not only its similar design language, but very similar setups between these two shoes are going to make for a very sensible 1-2 punch in terms of training in this shoe is going to prepare you well for being able to race well in the SC Elite version 4. And then I think for much slower days, if you want to go really, really comfy, I think that the Fresh Foam version 4 is going to make for a very nice, comfortable max cushion option. This is one of my favorite max cushion shoes, I think, pretty much ever. And I just love the way that this one feels, especially on the days when I'm extra tired. Now let's talk about the buying guide, pricing, and some alternatives to also consider. The New Balance SC Elite version 4 is available now and it's retailing at $250, and I think that is a fantastic price for this shoe. Let's take a look at what some of the competition has to offer. Because I feel like the SC Elite version 4 is going to be a very approachable shoe that I'm going to be able to recommend to a wide variety of people, the other shoe that fits those similar types of characteristics is going to be last year's Endorphin Pro version 3. Now, we're at that weird time of year where next year's shoes are almost here upon us, but until the Endorphin Pro 4 comes out, which I believe is the end of February, the Endorphin Pro 3 I think is going to be a really great choice. It's another shoe with a very good fit upper, a material in the midsole which is nice and bouncy, springy but also cushioned, and has a relatively approachable platform for a lot of runners to be able to perform well in. I feel like these two shoes are going to go well head to head, and the Saucony Endorphin Pro retails at $225, so $25 cheaper. The other shoe that I think I can recommend as an alternative to the New Balance SC Elite version 4 though is another shoe we've already been talking about, and that's the SC Elite version 3. I feel like a lot of the bottom line characteristics are similar in these shoes in terms of there's uppers that I think fit really well. There are shoes that I can recommend to a wide range of runners, and the SC Elite 3 is still available at certain retailers. You can find it at a discount these days. I believe this shoe started out at $230 retail, but you can certainly find it at a little bit of a discount, especially now since the next version is available. But when comparing these two shoes head to head, I'm definitely going to be leaning personally to the SC Elite version 4, just because I think the upgraded foam is a much more potent experience, and I like how they fixed the plate placement of the shoe, making it a much more effective super shoe racer. So those are my thoughts on the New Balance SC Elite version 4. Let me know in the comments if you have any other questions, or better yet, stop by the live stream I do Monday through Friday over on the Kofuzi Run Club channel. I'd love to see you over there in the chat. That's all I have for today, everybody. Thanks so much for making it all the way to the end of this video. Hopefully you guys are staying safe out there on your runs, and I'll see you in the next one.
Yo, what's going on?